We are recording.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the March 13th ESInet Users Group meeting. We'll call the meeting to order at 10:01 on this pre-storm morning. Just as a reminder, I know Jennifer put the link in the chat to sign into the meeting. We don't do roll call. If you could please remember to sign in, that would be great. And so number 3 on our agenda list is the CenturyLink Lumen System Performance Report. Tracy, I know that there was still a couple items on the tracker, the Pitkin Vale and the cross state line transfers that are pending. Did you have anything further to update on that? Is Tracy on?
I thought I saw her on here.
That's what I thought. I don't see her in the list. So I know she'd sent us a report this morning that both those projects are pending. The Pitkin Vale is pending a response from Motorola, and the cross state line transfers is going to be a long-term project, and Lumen is working on the Colorado, New Mexico side of things on that. And then Jennifer's showing us the system performance report, which of course I have no knowledge to give that report. Is there anybody else from CenturyLink or Lumen that wants to give that report on the system?
Jeff Winkleman's on, but I really can't speak to the report. Sorry.
No worries. It looks pretty much normal from most of the previous months to me, so.
Can you go, this is Daryl. Can you go back up to that top one, please? Can you scroll up just a little bit more on the so I can see the text? Yeah, we might want to ask about that one spike. Go back down just a little bit. I'm sorry. Looks like it was on Monday or around Monday the 12th. It might have been Monday the 12th. See if there was an issue that day.
Jeff, do you know, was Tracy going to attend, or can you reach out to her, or do you have any information on that, possibly on that spike?
I'm sending her a message right now.
Okay. So while we're waiting for her response, I know Jeff wanted to talk about the ECATS implementation progress report. Jeff, do you want to go ahead and talk about that while we're waiting for Tracy?
Certainly. So we're coming along, but not at the rate that we would like to. We're almost at a standstill at this point. We've got, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm remote right now, but we're missing a lot of the forms, and we're not getting many responses back. I know Tracy and Courtney have been working to reach out to the ones that we need to get the forms. I know that we're not even at 50% as far as completed as installed. So we're sending out a plea at this point, because the 21st of April will be the 1-year mark that the amendment was done. The process to get these forms and everything else was June. So we're coming in a year that we're not even at 50% having this completed. So that's the best status I can give at this point. So if we can reach out to those that have not responded to the need for the IP forms, is the biggest piece of it. That would be the biggest help.
Is there a way we can, Jennifer, I don't know if you have a list of who has and hasn't responded, but is there a way we can split those up into regions, and maybe some of us could reach out to our neighboring PSAPs and see if they need some assistance?
I'll work with Tracy, or not. Yes, with Tracy and Courtney. Courtney has been really good about setting updates every Friday as far as where we're at. So when I get a chance, I will look at that, and I will send that over to you, Jennifer. And unless you're getting those copies too.
Well, I have a question. I was wondering, and I see Tracy has joined us, so she probably can answer this question, but I'm wondering, in your outreach to the centers that haven't responded, have you been making phone calls and asking why they haven't responded. My guess is that there are some reasons behind their lack of response, and some of them may be financial, depending on their call handling equipment. So Tracy, can you speak to the outreach that you've done, and if you found out some of the reasons why people have not been responding to you?
Yeah. And just to share with Jeff, as of last Friday, we were at 41%. So it is less than 50%. I will get an updated sheet from Intrado probably by the end of the day on Friday, so I can forward that out. I know that in the last couple of days, we've had 2 or 3 PSAPs reach out. The key is the IP form. And when we're reaching out, that is specifically what we're asking for. And it's not that they're not responsive, because they do respond and say, what do you need from me? And we send the IP form out and say, along with a caveat that says, if you have any questions or if you need us to help you, Courtney and I have jumped on the phone and helped some people fill out the information. There's just a very long lag between, please send me the IP form, and then, after 2 or 3 weeks go by, we're reaching out again saying, hey, do you need some help with the IP form? Sometimes they're busy. I haven't had anybody say it's a financial issue. It very well may be, but that hasn't been shared with me. It's more busy, or they sent the form to their IT contact and they haven't heard back. But like Jeff said, since we're coming up on 1 year, there's a little more push to kind of get this completed and taken care of. Last time I talked to Courtney, by the end of March, we're basically going to have to stop, because all of the people who we have received paperwork from are scheduled for the training, and we don't have the next flow of PSAPs coming through.
Okay, thanks for that update. Are there any other questions for Jeff or Tracy on the ECATs? Jennifer, go ahead.
Well, I would just say I'm happy to highlight this in the summary email that I send out this week. I've waited to send that out until after the task force meeting, so I can summarize this meeting and the task force meeting as well. But I'm happy to send out the IP form and just remind people to send it, and maybe just an explanation of what it's looking for, because sometimes that can be a barrier if they just look at it and they're like, well, I'm not sure what they need. So I'm willing to help in that direction as well. But I would encourage the CenturyLink team to start reaching out to individual centers via phone, and just trying to get that information and get it scheduled.
Yeah, we certainly can do that. And Jeff's been doing some traveling too within the state of Colorado over the last couple of months. And when he's on site, I know that the conversation is taking place too.
Great. Joseph, I see you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I see there are a lot of people attending the meeting, some of whom I assume have been getting the request for the information, haven't been responding. And if it's, some may have an idea or suggest some issue with why people aren't responding, other than just everybody's so busy.
Yeah, I can't answer for the PSAPs of maybe why they can't, or why they're not responding. It could be that maybe they just don't know that they're not understanding, or maybe they haven't attended, they're not part of the task force, and so they're not aware, but they should be by this point aware of what's happening. Jackie, do you have a question or comment?
I do. I was just curious because I know that one of the authorities that I work with has a system already set up with their hosted system, and that contract is not up for another couple years, 3 years, maybe 4. I'll have to check, but I wasn't sure what needed to be communicated there.
So they already are using ECATs?
They are.
So we have still asked those locations to provide us that information, because there's additional data and additional reporting that they will get on top of that with the tariff. So even those that, we've come across a couple that have contracts with Intrado for the service, and they've worked with Intrado to make sure that they also have this additional data from the tariff. I know there's a couple where it's the CPE equipment needed changed or updated or something, and that held up some of the conversations. But even if they already have ECATs, there's a few things that Intrado is needing to make sure that they're getting everything that they're going to be paying for in the tariff.
Okay, I'll look at it again. Thanks.
And if anybody has, if you just want 5 minutes on a phone call, Intrado, Courtney's been very accommodating to jump on a call. I've been on those meetings with her, and 9 times out of 10, we can take care of it within 5 or 10 minutes. So, don't be shy. Shoot me an email and say, I want to get on the phone for 10 minutes and let's get this done. We're very accommodating to work around your schedule. We know you guys have times that you're busy, and you definitely work different shift hours than we do, but we can do early morning, end of day, whatever works to just answer your questions over the phone. Sometimes that's easier.
Yeah, sometimes that one-on-one conversation maybe is better for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions regarding the ECATs? I see Amelia put a comment in the chat that she's following up with her IT now. It was on the back burner, which may be a lot of the case for some. No more comments. Tracy, do you want to go over the system report? We kind of skipped that until you got on the call. We saw there was maybe a little spike on the 12th of March.
Yeah, and that top one is just, we continue to, we just keep pinging until we get a hit. That could be because the line was busy. This doesn't really have anything to do with the service, if you will. In talking to my knock, it's just because we had to continue to ping that particular location until we got a connection test code.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Tracy on the outage or the system performance report? Tracy, I just gave a little summary that the Vail, Pitkin, and the transfer state line transfers was pending. Did you have anything more for that?
I don't. We've had that on our tracker for quite a while. Just it was a routing change, and then it was there was some discussion around doing standalone PSAPs, and I think Motorola has had some conversations with the PSAP. The last I heard is there was a new direction that they wanted to go to. So we're just kind of waiting to hear from the CPE vendor what that direction is. There really isn't an action for us until we know that.
Okay, Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, so from Pitkin County side, we were told that Intrado was not willing or able to make that reroute to our location specifically. So we're in the middle of working with Motorola to add a secondary line to our MO circuits so that we can make this work until we get a new phone system altogether, and then try and have Intrado then redirect our phones directly to us again.
John? Okay, there you are. I was like, let's find Rich.
So Brad, that wasn't my takeaway from our last call. So there's multiple ways that we can do that, but we need to work in coordination with the on-site WAN provider to be able to do that. So the reasoning, right now the way BGP works and networking works is it's the PSAP side that directs us as to which routes are available for us to use and the priority of those routes. So in essence, for your area, all 4 links are up, and the hosts behind those links are all available. So we look at the BGP routing that comes from the local PSAP WAN to tell us, okay, for this IP address, this is the route we should take. So in order for us to take other routes, because all of them are available and all IPs are reachable, we would need configuration from the PSAP WAN side to further tell us which route to take for which host. There are additional options there that we can only make, if we wanted to, we could only make and advertise certain hosts over certain links, but that's also a configuration on the PSAP side as well.
Well,
so
and
there
I've
are ways to do it.
Explain our side a little bit better than I can.
And Rich, we've talked about this in detail, and I don't know, I mean, we can probably sidebar this for a later conversation as well. We've talked about everything from re-IPing, Vale side and Pitkin side to put them on different subnets. We've had conversation about some segregation there, but kind of feedback we've had is that you guys have got a pretty hard line, and we're now working with Motorola trying to work through that. And it could be based off of configuration and that. What we know is we're still 18 months to 2 years into this conversation, and we're still in the same spot. And so we're not making a lot of headway. We would love to have a solution where our calls are delivered here. We really don't care how that works, what we need to do to get there, but that's where we're at. And so,
okay. And Brad, the last I knew that we joined a call, and I forget if Motorola couldn't join or if the resources weren't on there. That was back in January. So why don't we do this? Why don't we just set up a recurring weekly or bi-weekly call to narrow this down? Because I feel like we're losing some sort of information on either side. I was under the misunderstanding, I guess, that there was some investigation still being done on the PSAP side of this. So regardless of what has happened, I want to have everyone focus on this. I want to have a reoccurring call. I want to manage so we can have a reoccurring status of where we stand. So
Rich, do you want Lumen to set that up, or do you want to?
yeah, I mean, yes.
I'll do it.
I would like Lumen to set that up, and we'll so we have our project managers here ready and available to do this, as well as our network engineers. So let's just get it on the books and do it constantly and consistently until we take care of it, because I feel like we keep losing a little bit after every call of where we actually stand. There are options, multiple options of how to take care of this and make it react how you would like it to.
Okay.
Jeff Tucker, did you have a comment?
Sure. Motorola will make every effort to get our engineering staff to participate in those calls. Just give us a little bit of extra notice so that I can get the right people on. And Brad and Jeremy, if you guys will continue to work on that, either Lumen E-line circuit change out or a different connection to Mo's, I'm happy to help. Okay.
And just maybe a side note to it, I had heard that, and Tracy, I'm not sure if Kevin's on this call or not. That was another road to go down. Another option was to set up new PSAP side circuits, the interconnectivity between the two Motorola nodes. Yep. And I don't know what the right way to say this is to maybe make that network more consistent. So that if that was the case, then it really doesn't matter which side we send it to, because the internal network can accept both. So I think there were multiple paths there as well. So we can look down that road too.
Yep.
This is Jeff Winkelman. Just to let you know, we do have that solution quote ready as far as the E-line is concerned to replace one of the Mo's. So I will be sending that out a little bit later today. I've got a meeting I got to walk into here shortly, but I think that's going to move this in the right direction.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know too, that is the standard configuration that for diversity and redundancy purposes, that we could send calls to either side, and either side will be able to redirect to the proper host. And we do that because in case we lose two circuits to one side, we can still reach that side through the other host location. So with that back end network fully available, it really shouldn't matter what physical path we send it down, as long as it reaches the appropriate host. And that can be done from an application level. So there has been a lot of discussion and talk and methods to this configuration. Let's just get back on it, make sure everybody understands what our options are and how we want to move forward, because there's multiple ways we can take care of this.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, once we get this fixed, this will be nice, but it's been a year of this, so I'm a little frustrated at this point.
And I get it too, Brett. I understand. I mean, we've heard multiple other things that we're going to move it from or change it from a multi-node to a standalone. So let's just everyone get back on the same page. I think there's some confusion.
Right.
Yep.
Brad,
And I hear you. And Intrado is dedicated to getting this fixed one way or another.
Brad, is there anyone else I should include in the invite from your side?
Just Brett Loeb and Jeremy Duncan, and that should be it.
That sounds good. I'm glad that you guys are going to have some ongoing meetings to get to the bottom of this and get things working properly for Brad and his team. Brad, if there's anything that we can do to help you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Okay, we appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is follow-up from our presentation from CenturyLink and Lumen in February. Is there any questions from that presentation? I believe that they're doing a presentation at the next task force meeting as well, so we'll have the opportunity to see it again. We just wanted to circle back around to see if anybody had any questions from our last meeting with them. Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they were going to go back and look at some of the issues such as if this is the TDMS or whatever it's called, where some of the authorities have already have 98% accurate GIS data because of the CAD systems they use, or have been contracting with Intrado for keeping their GIS data accurate. And so I guess that will be addressed tomorrow at the task force meeting.
Yeah, Joseph, this is Rich Johnston. So a couple things. We're going to re-review TDMS tomorrow. We just in detail, right? Focus on TDMS because there were a lot of questions. I think everything else made a good amount of sense to everybody. So we'll go over again in detail of what those one-time fees are, the pre-live activities versus the post-live activities. And one of our takeaways, and we've accomplished that, is to be able to take that those one-time activities and further break them apart a little bit. One being the normal onboarding where we assist the GIS authority to get them to that 98% match rate, right? If they're already there or they have tools to do it, we would separate out that one-time fee, which included that to be two one-time fees. One is to do that onboarding and assist it. If the PSEP doesn't need it, then the second one-time fee is to create the GOM site. That is still not absolutely required, but very recommended that we wipe clean the existing, if you call it legacy MSEG, and create a GOM seg based on the GIS data. So we've worked to separate that out into two items versus just having the one in case the PSEP doesn't want or need the other onboarding activities.
Thanks. I think there were some other takeaways too, but we can discuss them tomorrow, I guess.
Sure.
Does anyone else have any other questions for the CenturyLink Lumen team on that? Hearing nothing, we'll move on to the strategic plan, the next steps of that. So I know Kathy and Jennifer have set up a workshop for Tuesday, March 26th from 1 to 2:30. Everyone is welcomed and encouraged to attend that workshop and the ongoing workshops. If for some reason you didn't get on the calendar invite and want to be listed on that, let Jennifer, Kathy, or I know, and we'll make sure that you get that. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? Awesome. Oh, Jennifer, go ahead.
I don't have any questions, but I did want to clarify. I had sent out a calendar invite to the entire ESInet users group, and that was by mistake. because the workshop is intended for people who want to be involved in the workshop. However, if you want to be involved in the workshop, please don't hesitate to send me an email and I'll add you to the calendar invite. I just didn't want to have it on the calendar if there were people on the ESInet users group that didn't want to participate in the workshopping. So just let me know and I'll add you to the calendar invite.
Thanks, Jennifer, for doing all that. Anybody else have any questions? Very good. Number 7, we have a offer proposal from Vexel, and I'll let Jennifer explain further on that.
I'm actually just going to introduce Ty Thompson and Mike from Vexel. They approached me with an offer that they wanted to get the word out to the PSAP community, and so I invited them to make their presentation here at the ESInet users group. So I will turn it over to Ty and Mike.
Yeah, this is Ty here. Hi, everybody. Since semi-retiring from Geocon last year, I still remain active in the industry. And in talking to the folks at Vexel and Mark Davis in particular, I found out about an offering from them that I thought would be extremely beneficial to the PSAP community. And so, in short, well, I'll let Mark go through that. I know we only have a few minutes, so Mark's going to speed through it pretty fast. But for now, I will be quiet there and introduce Mark Davis, who is their general manager for the public sector business at Vexel.
All right. Thanks, Ty. And hopefully I can share. I have a couple of slides I want to go through the group. Jennifer, can I share my screen?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I will hit that now. Entire screen, here we go. This looks like it's getting ready to load. All right. And everyone can see that okay?
I can.
Yep. Okay, great. So thanks for having us, Jennifer. We appreciate it. So what I wanted to just go through quickly is the state of Colorado invested in us last year in an image, high resolution image data program, making this available to all the state, local, and metro agencies across the state. So I'm going to sort of share what this program is, and the benefit for this group is you guys have access to these services and this imagery, which, whether it helps your base maps or helps in your insights or your available data for the work that you're doing. So, the purpose or why this might be beneficial is really, listen to some of the conversation and then talking with Ty, having access to sufficient and fresh and reliable information, at your fingertips, in your decision making, while also not, providing data overload. So this is, new information that could be available and useful. Some may have fresh or certain image services and some don't. So this is really available across all the communities across the state of Colorado. Ultimately with, getting faster time to your insights or actionable information, and understanding that there's, limited funding for your operational needs. So take advantage of something that the state has done. And where this came from is actually was funded by the Department of Transportation here in Colorado. So it started early last year. It's and basically renewed yearly. And what it's providing is very high resolution, whether it's 3-inch, 6-inch, orthomosaics, basically think the base map tiles and obliques across the state. So this has the way the license has been put in place. Everyone, all the PSAPs and the emergency communication centers basically have access to this data. And we have a variety of tools we're integrated natively into Esri and all the GIS ready formats for use. And just quickly what it is and who we are, in case you haven't heard of us, probably not. So Vexel's been making cameras for about 30 years, and then about 20 years ago, really starting providing services where we're capturing data across countries. We're doing this over 35 countries right now. It says 30 here, it's actually up to 35. Sort of started in the high-tech sector, for navigation and with the big tech players, but then quickly got into the insurance sector. So imagine, we're flying the entire country and then providing this information to the insurers for risk assessment and underwriting and claims. And then we also fly during storm events after wildfires and tornadoes and hurricanes and such to provide this information for the first responders. And the data stack is actually pretty rich, from a true ortho, which means like a straight down without building lean look at facilities, to the multispectral, which could be used for fire mitigation and impervious surface work. And then we're also doing feature extraction at scale, whether it's buildings and properties and roadways and whatnot. So we do that across about 130 million different properties across the US. Wanted to share this one quick just to set the stage for the group. Is this, what people are used to on their base maps in your systems today is typically in these top two boxes, whether it's satellite type data, 60 centimeter, they're sort of the best available satellite, or some of the base maps are 30-inch. And then what Vexel is providing across the state are these two. So you can imagine this. Just not sure if anyone knows what this site is, but I picked a site right here in Colorado, not too far from me. So if you backed off on this is actually Red Rocks. So that imagery, on your systems, being able to zoom, I picked the same zoom all the way down to this area right here, but this is the kind of data that's in the system. Just since this group sort of covers many different counties and areas of Colorado, while we capture the whole country, and we have a history going back about 5 years across the different states and counties, here's a map of Colorado. There's quite a bit on here, but just so quickly, this dark area is everywhere we're capturing, sort of not the light in the center, all these edges with 6-inch resolution orthos this year. The lighter blue is where we captured that information last year. We had captured this other, the prior year. And then these dark marks are where we have both 3-inch and oblique information. And the little hash, we have also 3-inch. So these darker and the hashes are typically where there's higher population, but we are capturing the entire state. And so this information is available. Just to sort of what it is, that high resolution, and we have some tools that are available in this particular shot over Colorado Springs. You can see we have a history going back to 2014. And then the last time we captured this was August of last year, and we'll be capturing it again later this year. But besides just the imagery, there's a whole host of analytics available, which from building footprints and building heights and roadway and things like that, which I'll share in a second. This is just a shot of the police center here in Colorado Springs, but this is sort of showing the oblique tools along in our the oblique views where you can get north, south, east, west. There's measurement tools. You can do side by side. You can do comparison. So there's some simple viewer tools that for the non-GIS sort of experts, and then obviously if you're doing things in your existing tools, CAD systems or geospatial tools, they all transfer over. This was a shot in Superior. So we not only captured this normal, whether it's leaf on or blue sky, we call it, or leaf off data after storm events, major events like this was the wildfire in Superior. We came back that next day, flew all the information, then did damage assessment for first responders and for FEMA. And so anywhere underneath an area where you see these little gray clouds, it's where we've captured events right after a storm. And we typically deliver all the information within 24 hours of wheels down. So really quickly for the public safety community. This was just an example quick in Hawaii where we flew the fires in Lahaina in Maui area in Hawaii. And given this information, there's about 1,800 homes that were just completely destroyed. We delivered within 17 hours for the community dealing with that disaster. So one of the things I think for this group that's important is, this information, it's mapping grade. We follow, ARS, basically mapping standards for the delivery and production of this information. We use ground control points. But why this is important, so the more consistent, the quality of the data basically optimize it, allows for really good analytics and feature extraction. And so, one thing is because where we have obliques, and the top down and all the side angles, we can produce these really accurate 3D models of metro areas. So we're doing that across 60 cities right now. But we actually just did a project with a local consultant in Denver for similar type mapping of Denver. But we have this in any of those areas that were dark blue on that map. So that, you know, besides just, hey, have a nice, pretty base map for a lot of your efforts, we're doing things. There's about 80 different feature extractions we pull out from, you know, damage assessment after a storm to, you know, new properties, you know, thinking of it as, hey, if you're trying to manage your operations and there's new construction or a whole new subdivision things going in, having the latest, greatest footprints and what's on the ground is valuable. And then we're doing work, which I'll share in a minute, on roadways too. This is for pedestrian and bike safety, as well as asset management and maintenance with the DOT here in Colorado and across the country. So having this information consistently captured, you can start doing things. This is an example really more for the property and tax assessment, which is being used actually with some work we're doing we'll be doing up in Larimer County. But year over year, so hey, show me which properties added a pool, and maybe pool information is needed from a valuation of the property, or potentially for firefighters to know where they might need to get water from. And this chart also shows, hey, show me any property that added, you know, new construction or added new facilities or new structures, whether it's for tax reasons or for insurance reasons or for safety reasons, as well as like defensible space information. Ty had asked me to bring this up quick for this group. I guess there was a meeting earlier this week or yesterday where I guess federal highway and groups were reaching out to Colorado and this community to say, hey, there's $1 billion a year for the next 4 years available to the local communities, whether it's a county, a city, a town, municipality, for improving the safety of our roadways for, you know, pedestrians, for all users, whether it's a bicycle or a scooter, person walking. This is an example in Colorado.
And what Mark is referring to real quick, if anybody sat in on Ryan Tegmeyer's State of 911 webinar yesterday, he covered the Safe Streets for All, and there's a lot that can be done with that money, and it's just something for folks to think about, additional funding sources that could be used by the PSAPs, by GIS staff supporting P staff, and create safer streets. And so this is an example of some of the projects that were awarded last year. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah. And this money, this, you know, 3.4 million is not for putting in a new roundabout or putting in new pedestrian islands or ADA ramps or something. This is just for developing the action plan to improve the safety for our citizens around the streets. So this, you know, this is basically for data collection and safety planning, and then a successful action plan then results in the implementation grants, which are, you know, 10 to 20 times this amount typically. So the reason for bringing this up is, you know, we have a bunch of projects, you know, 5 different core use cases where we're doing this today, whether it's for, you know, bike and pedestrian safety or for inventories and road maintenance. Just as an example, we're following, you know, federal highways guidelines that say, hey, these are proven countermeasures to, if you put in a bike lane, you're going to have, you know, improved safety. If you put in a certain type of crosswalk. So this example on the crosswalks is, hey, if I just use this high visibility crosswalk for pedestrians crossing streets, it reduces injury and crashes by 40%. But a lot of the towns and cities have no idea where these are or what shape they're in, or, you know, what standard they're following. And so with this imagery that we have, we're able to extract that at scale. So we're actually, I saw Kimberly Cope was on the phone with the LEDA group. They're using this information and some of these analytics for their purposes for their, you know, 911 center, but then the town in Fort Collins would have access to this for their road safety work.
Kimberly has raised her hand, Mark.
Hey, Kimberly.
So I just wanted to jump in really quick. I didn't know you guys were going to be here today, so this is kind of exciting. Just for the big picture of the group, free is great, right? And so we have been paying since 2008 for imagery from a different vendor all the way down to that subpart imagery. And when we found that the state of Colorado has this contract and this project and you get your imagery needs, we've just have customized. So the Vexel team has allowed us to customize our specific additional asks, and ends up we're paying a fraction of the price as we would have to do the whole thing by ourselves. So I can't give enough praise to how this is going and responsible fiscal stewardship of our citizens' money. So thank you, Vexel, for letting us do that.
Sure, and thanks, Kimberly. So this one, there's a lot on here, but these little check marks are where the state through the DOT has acquired this information. So this is just like it's for Kimberly, for anyone on this phone, is available to the state agencies or local agencies. And the difference with what Larimer County and Lita did is they said, hey, I also want the footprints or these building attributes and the roadway, so that where there's no checks, Kimberly's group, is getting that information to improve their processes and capabilities, not only for the 911 centers, but across, public works and public utilities and emergency management and so on and so forth. So then that leaves my last slide, just to take some questions in for time, is like, what could be next is, one, is this information's available? So infilling or enhancing your current imagery libraries, we can definitely help you do that, immediately. You can save money, as Kimberly just mentioned, or delays by, having to have custom flights to get information that probably already exists sitting on the shelf with us today. We can get you guys stood up with that viewer, some of those screenshots I showed just for general users, but we also have obviously single sign-on and Esri connectors and all the other stuff. And if there's something that makes sense from a pilot engagement for, connecting to some of your CAD tools or whatever, that's on the schedule in Lita, but it's a few months out because they were just implementing a upgrade on their Esri system. And then after that, we were going to connect, I think it was Central Square. We're going to integrate some of our tools to that. But I'm glad to take questions for a few minutes and then just, give the time back. Alexander?
Hi, I'm Alex with Meta out of Montrose, and I didn't know you guys were going to be on today either. So that's kind of exciting. I've actually been in coordination with the state OIT office, Clara at Bexel, I believe, and our local PSAP trying to implement the state's imagery they've purchased just to be viewable in the CAD map and the Vesta map local and our local PSAP of Wesco. And I've been unsuccessful in my attempts to do that through various URLs that Claire's provided. I don't know if it's something particular to Vesta Map Local, but having also tried it in CAD through a REST service, I don't know if it's the particulars of having the credentials, the authorization token credentials to do that that's kind of buggering it up, or if is there a solution to get that imagery directly native in the CPE's applications?
Yeah, so one is, I know there was some challenges with the single sign-on that we were working through, with the state of Colorado. I know that got resolved like a week or so ago, so I'm not sure if that was part of the issue. Then we also there's another individual from our team really on the public sector. Her name's Amanda. That's been working with Lita and with CDOT and others. So I'll make sure that Amanda connects with Clara to how we could help get you guys up and running for your information. Also, as part of, besides just streaming services, the Colorado, the license also has an on-prem. So if we need to deliver something, like if it's preferred to have it on-prem in case of connectivity issues or for dealing with the engineers or other things. But Alexander, you and I can talk after this to basically get you stood up.
And Alexander brings up a good point. And one of the things that I'm helping Mark on is getting partner discussions going on to help us get this integration started. So it's not Alex trying to do it for his PSAP. It's Bexel working with the partner to get this implemented within their system, so you don't have to deal with the one-offs like Alexander is right now.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
But the reason I reached out to to Jennifer was after talking to Mark and talking to a friend of mine who's no longer in the PSAP community, who retired. You might be able to guess who this is. Retired recently. He told me that they were spending $100,000 a year on imagery. And just think about what you could do with that money. Maybe it's additional building attributes for Mark as you prepare for Z-Access, location of callers in 3D environments and 3D buildings. Some of that mapping applications are starting to be rolled out today to a lot of the larger cities and through other companies like Rapid SOS and others on the 3D side. So just something to think about when you look at that is there's additional information sets here that will create that local authoritative data for the 3D environment as we move forward as well.
Mark and Ty, I want to thank you. This is an amazing opportunity for us. Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to take advantage of this or pursue it, who do they contact? What's their phone number or email address? And is there a contract required, or is it just provided?
Yeah, so it's provided because if you're obviously an agency within the state, you're already under license, so you have access to it. I can share this deck that I just showed with the community, so you have that as a reference, and there's my point of contact information. But I would say right now is you reach to me, because whether I go through Amanda, Claire, others, basically to put you in, align you with one of our customer advocates to get the information stood up or get you guys up and running.
And Joseph, I put Mark's email address in chat for everybody.
This is Jennifer, and I'm happy I'll put your slide deck into the meeting materials folder for this group when you send it to me.
Okay.
And I wanted to say again, thank you for this opportunity. It's not very often that people come to the 911 community and offer stuff for free. So, and I know that nothing is ever fully free, but this is really a nice offer. So thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah. I would say that, the states acquired it. So the states, all of us taxpayers in the state have, paid for it in a way. But I think the fact that it's sitting on the shelf and this community could really benefit from it, that was part of us wanting to join this meeting. And then if there's other things the state hasn't purchased that, make sense for the group, then there's these buy-up options are sort of pre-negotiated and they're good rates. As Kimberly mentioned, then it's, get stuff for a fraction of the cost of what you historically probably been paying.
And one more thing from my side, working with the partner community, nothing is more beneficial than having users of their applications come to them and say, hey, I need access to this imagery. That helps really kind of grease the wheels to get things done with the major players in the state that are public safety application providers, and your help would be appreciated on that.
Well, I think this is great, and we have an amazing opportunity to do some good work for our PSAPs with this type of information. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark or Ty?
So this is Kimberly. I didn't raise my hand. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So bad sometimes. No questions. I just wanted to offer out if anybody wants to have us do a screen share, show you how we're using it and some of the add-on pieces that we've purchased. I'm happy to talk about our project up here that's serving Larimer and Jackson counties.
Alexander, go ahead. Oh, sorry, you're just a comment. Sorry about that. Yeah, I would be interested in seeing that as well, Kimberly. Maybe we could have you do a little presentation at one of our meetings.
Yeah, and we can do that. Maybe after the next meeting, we can just extend it for those that want to stay on, and we can walk through and talk about our project with our public safety peers in the state and what we added on and why.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Does anybody else have any questions for anybody? Mark and Ty, thanks a lot. This is awesome. I can't wait to see more of this.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you setting this up, Jennifer. Really do. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Happy to help.
All right, moving on. The last thing is public comment. Does anybody have any public comment for the group for our meeting? Hearing none. It looks like we're to adjournment unless anybody has anything else. Hearing nothing, we'll give you back 10 minutes of your day to go prepare for all the white fluffy stuff.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.